He's been in project management for over 19 years, has been an active Agilist, Scrum Master, and coach for 9 years in multiple companies. From Red Hat, please welcome to the stage, Arjay Hinek.
All right, I kind of wish I could do the entire talk with just that picture, because that. All right, so yes, my name is Arjay Hinek. I've been in construction since the late 90s, and I've been in Agile for most of the last decade. And what I want to talk to you today about is an experiment I've been conducting for the last year and a half with two different teams. One's a construction group and design group, and the other is an IT delivery group. Basically, we build offices, and here's some things I learned. Agile values and principles are ideas, not sacred words. It's not an a la carte menu. And finally, culture means common ground. Now, I'm going to tell you a story, so this will all make a little bit more sense here in a little bit. Come on, my people. There they are. So Agile's not a magical spell. A lot of people are throwing the term around a lot because a lot more people are using Agile outside of software, and the buzzwords are cranking back up. And people are saying manifesto, and they actually don't know what they're talking about. They're saying things like, I want to do Agile, right? So what I help people with is talk about the ideas themselves. Speaking of the manifesto, Wade covered these earlier, but I want you all to take a look here. See these items on the left? Those are the values, right? The whole lines are the values, but the lines on the left, those are good ideas. I don't think anybody would look at individuals and interactions and say, that's a dumb idea. I mean, we know that's valuable, right? Same with responding to change. Who's going to fight change? So these are good values in context with great concepts that exist already. So that's the value of the Agile Manifesto. It's not just the individual words. It's not the words themselves. It's the ideas as a whole taken as a concept. I'm going to go a little further into this if I can get it. There we go. So the Scrum values, too. Scrum is one of the subsets of Agile, and there's a team values: commitment, focus, openness, respect, and courage. And people say, yeah, these are the Scrum values. Well, I challenge that. I simply say, I don't think those particularly belong to just Scrum alone. I think those belong to sense. I would say common sense, but unfortunately that's not always the case. It could be a company. It could be good friends. It could be a healthy marriage. It could be a great team of any kind. If they have embodied these values, you know it's going to be good, right? So it's not just Agile. These are concepts. All right, so that may make people think things like, well, then can I apply Agile just anywhere, just willy-nilly? I just say I'm Agile? No. There's a bigger picture to this. You have to apply them in totality. So back to those groups I was telling you about. I was helping them try to. And here's what the problem was. They had been working for years, and they'd had a lot of struggles with communications, drops in understanding dependencies, and people just weren't working well together. And fortunately, at Red Hat, they're brave, and someone said, hey, let's try Agile. Hey, RJ, you've been doing this around the company. Help us out. So I started to help them out, and we noticed some good things happening in the mapping process. They started learning, initiating projects. But then we started talking about Agile, and they kept using that term, and it was confusing people. They're like, well, Agile's for software. So these are the values that we were just showing earlier. So I asked them to go ahead and rewrite the values. Rewrite them to match their product and their customer. So they did. Not only did they rewrite them, they actually changed the order of them. They changed the manifesto. And they changed the wording of it, and I'd really love to spend more time on that last one, the decentralized team member planning, because that was really important to them. But unfortunately, I only have 5 minutes. But we also work on the 12 principles, and if any of you have looked at the 12 principles, they are very software-centric. So I asked them to change those as well. So they're building offices, right? None of the software delivery terminology is going to make sense. Hey, my animation worked, yay. So what they did is they worked through all the principles, and I worked with the team coaches. I worked with a lot of the very active team members who seemed really, really engaged. And they had a great time. We went through and we rewrote the principles to match what we were doing. And as you can see, it's a sphere. It needs to be a collective, and that's what they realized. It has to be thought of as holistically. If you start taking out the hard ones, like, oh, that'll be really hard to rewrite, or that'll be really hard to do, then you end up with things starting to collapse. And that's what software development teams, that's what happens to any team that tries to be agile and picks and chooses and treats the principles like an a la carte menu. So having those conversations was extremely successful. We saw a lot better communications. We saw people understanding each other's roles across teams. And we even found ways that the process flow for how projects were coming in, we found holes in it, and we tried to shore that up. It revealed things. That's one of the great things about Agile. But I wish I could drop the microphone right now and say, yeah, nailed it. But here's the problem. Those are 2 successes, but there was also one big failure. What I did, see, those are my unhappy people. Here they are. I was coaching the problem and not the people. And when you do that, you're leaving people behind. What I didn't do, it was not include everybody in that conversation about the values and the principles. I invited the people who were really on board, the people who were excited. I stayed away from the people who didn't because I thought maybe once they see us be successful, they'll get on board. Don't do that. But I can say it's a work in progress. We're still working. Now I'm having to go backwards and start all over again. But fortunately, they're not giving up, and I'm not giving up on them, and that is something that a good Agilist does. So I'm hoping that was helpful, but let's go recap those 3 things to keep in mind, because now you have a little context. Agile values and principles are ideas. Modify them to match your customer needs and your product. What you end up with is not an a la carte menu. You do not get to just do the easy ones. You have to work holistically. And finally, and I think the most important one, learning from change and learning from failure, cultural change needs to come from everyone involved. Establish common ground and build from there. I did not establish common ground. So, and finally, that should be my people. Good. Any questions?
All right, questions for RJ, raise your hands. If you have not had a chance to speak into the giant blue ball, now is your opportunity.
Just to beat the rush, yes, I did draw
They're
those stick
just going to
figures.
beat the rush, apparently. Traffic's done. It's like 7 o'clock. Questions for RJ about what he's been able to do over at Red Hat? Oh, we do have one right here. Awesome. Coming your way.
So you spoke of those who might be skeptical or naysayers. What have you found in your own coaching points with them to speak to them in terms of what's in it for them, or how do you coach them since they are nervous and afraid and skeptical?
I think you hit it right on the head. They're nervous and afraid, so as a coach, I have to find out what's making them nervous and afraid. And in most cases, it's change. Nobody likes change. And I think Johnny hit it right on the head. Change management is essential, and you have to do it right. What we did wrong, actually it cascaded. We came up with this great idea, and you might have noticed as I was talking, there was a lot of me suggesting things, and that's not good coaching. That was actually me being more like a consultant, and in doing that, it was sort of forcing people's hands. I was fixing the problem. I wasn't coaching the people. So to get them on board, I should have first understood their problem, and more importantly, had everybody in agreement on what the problem was that we were trying to solve. Most of the people agreed, yes, communications was a real problem. But some people thought, well, we can fix it some other way. So, yeah, this is the big mea culpa. I kind of forced Agile on them. It worked for a lot of people, and it did see a lot of improvement. But now we're going backwards, and we're redoing it. So I think it's actually, that's how Agile should work. You learn from your mistakes, and you go back and fix it.
Absolutely. Other questions? You can raise your hand. I will come to you. Quiet room to, awesome. There we go. Gonna try to one-hand it? All right, let's see how this works. There we go. He's a pro.
So you talked a lot about the people and how you can work with them and coach them. Well, can you talk a little bit about some of the outcomes actually around the construction and the buildings and like how that changed as well?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. There's just no way to work that into the slides. It would take too long. But with the construction projects, what we were doing agilely, in an agile manner, was we were breaking the project down using mapping, right? And that included everything from lease and legal and capital expense. And so we would break it into the little pieces that needed to be built, and then the team members would help build that up. So we weren't actually, this wasn't the trades, you know, the plumbers and the electricians. This is the people who, within Red Hat, design and try to get built office spaces that look like Red Hat, you know, that feel like our culture, sort of like what Janelle was talking about. And then we have the IT side of it, also to what Janelle was talking about, that has to work, has to have good, you know, not just Wi-Fi, but we have to have great communication methods. So that's what they were focused in. And so they helped deliver that. Then what we saw happen with these projects was those people worked and knew exactly what they needed to do. And then they stepped away from them actually doing things and then sort of being the shepherds of things like getting the drywall delivered and getting, you know, this is probably not a great example, but making sure we had inspections, et cetera. We also have an external project management group that handles the direct hands-on work with all the trades. So it's technically not really construction project management. It's more like internal management of a construction project. Did that answer your question? Oh, that's right.
The question is what changed in the delivery once you adopted Agile?
Sorry about that. Yeah, so what changed in the delivery was primarily better visibility about dependencies of when things had to be ordered, when things had to be built. So the team members were able to understand each other better about, you know, why furniture could not just be ordered right from the beginning, because IT needs to know what the use is going to be of a space before that furniture gets ordered. It's kind of dry, but it's vitally important to getting it delivered on time.
Great question. Also, I've got one. As a software developer myself, I came into the Agile world. Agile tends to invent and repurpose a number of terms, one of them being the concept of an Agile coach. I think most people think of coaches in terms of a sports motif. In summary, could you just kind of wrap up with the idea of what is an Agile coach and why would a team need one?
That is a $1 million question.
Thank you. I'll be expecting my check after the show.
So Scrum Masters are the people on the team who help keep the team on track with being Agilists. Agile coaches should not be prescriptive. They should not be recommending things specifically. They need to be teasing things out of the team, finding out what their problems are. So a coach tends to be somebody who's a little more holistic and thinking and not on the team, right? And that probably is going to raise some ire with some people, because a lot of people say, no, every team has an Agile coach. It's our Scrum Master. So there's a debate about what a coach is and what a Scrum Master is. So it's sort of like a subset. Scrum Masters need to have coaching abilities. They have to be able to coach, because they don't want to go around just telling people what to do. But coaches, people who are specifically coaches, need to usually come in external and help companies or help teams or organizations. And it's an old adage we use. Charles, I might need you to help me because it's the prophet in your own village? If you're a prophet in your own village, a lot of people won't listen to you. But when a coach comes in and asks questions and teases it out of the team to help them come up with their own answer, they're quite frequently like, yeah, that's what it is. And the Scrum Master's like, I was telling you that for the last 8 weeks. So a coach's job is to kind of be a little more high level.
Awesome. Please give it up for RJ Hinek.